My Airbnb got shut down. Oh my God. I think this is every Airbnb host's worst nightmare. But before I get into it, guys, make sure you guys subscribe and turn on that notification bell. Hey everyone, my name is Jorge Contreras and I have built my Airbnb business to over 6 figures a month completely on autopilot. And in the last 5 years, since 2017 of operating short-term rentals, I've only had one experience where my Airbnb got shut down. Here's the full story. So I found this property on Zillow. It is a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom craftsman home in a beautiful, beautiful location. And the property has a pool, it's got a built-in barbecue, and an awesome garage that we turned into a game room. This is a property that I began subleasing for $3,500 a month. And the interesting part is when I first contacted the landlord through the phone number on the listing on Zillow, he actually told me that they weren't really interested in working with me. They actually wanted somebody to live in the property. But I actually work my magic the way I've taught my 3,000 plus students in the Real system, which I give them all the scripts, templates, contracts, presentations, and recordings of me speaking to landlords. But anyway, that's for another day. And so I was talking to the landlord utilizing my script. And he said, you know what, I'll consider it, but I do have a couple other people that are gonna come view the property, so let's talk in a couple of days. Well, I never heard back from the guy. And then about a week later, he calls me out of nowhere. He says, hey, Jorge, correct? I said, yes. He said, hey man, so, it didn't work out with the other people that were interested in the property. Do you want to come take a look at it? I said, absolutely. I got my wife. My daughter was like 6 months at the time. And we went over there to the property, which kind of worked out because it's next to one of our favorite restaurants and coffee shops. So we went to the property, met him in person, and we just hit it off. Within 24 hours, we signed a lease agreement. And here's where things got interesting, okay? So for the first 6 months, we were making a little over double what we were paying in rent. So we're paying about $3,500, and we're generating anywhere from $7,000 to $8,000 a month, which is typically what we want, right? We always want to be able to generate $2 for every dollar that we pay in rent. Now, in most cities, it could take 6 months to a couple years to implement a ordinance or a regulation. But what I've noticed is that in very small cities, they could do it overnight. And that's why I typically recommend my students to start their short-term rental business where regulation already exists, meaning where you can get a permit. Because if you go into an area where there is no regulation, things can change. And again, if it's a very small city, like in Whittier, California, they changed the ordinance like that, overnight. We basically received a letter from the city saying, hey, I see that you guys are operating a short-term rental at this address, and we want to inform you that as of basically tomorrow, you can no longer operate short-term rentals. Now, of course, this was devastating, right? This was an amazing, a beautiful property. It was profitable, over $2,000 a month in profit after all expenses, cleaning, utilities, supplies, miscellaneous. So, man, what are we gonna do now, right? Think about it. We can't Airbnb it anymore. Like, what am I gonna do? Well, one of the things that I've learned in business and in life is that the only thing that is constant is change. And truly successful entrepreneurs know how to pivot. Guess what? We got to pivot, and often that is where the growth and opportunities come from. So what we did is we started to advertise the property on Zillow as a long-term rental. And because it was at the beginning of the pandemic, I noticed that there was a lot of people that lived in small apartment buildings who have the money to rent out an entire house. Maybe they wanted to social distance or have a better life experience while being in a lockdown. And so we actually attracted a family in the area who was living in a small apartment. It was a husband, wife, and their 2 kids. So they started to rent the property from us for $4,000 a month. That means, we're paying $3,500 a month. We rent it to a family for $4,000 a month because now the property is fully furnished. It's got all the appliances, it's got decor. So we started to cash flow $500 a month. Would you be okay with $500 a month? Let me know in the comments, okay? I know I was. I'm like, hey, there's nothing to do. We don't have to clean it. There's no maintenance. Basically a 12-month lease, nothing to do. And we're making $500 a month, guaranteed $6,000 a month. And it's been over 2 years that we've been in the same agreement with the landlord, managing the property. But again, there isn't really much to do. And this is an opportunity, right? If there's ever a situation where an ordinance does change, where you are no longer able to operate for some reason, or let's say the property is not generating the revenue that you thought it was, you could always put a long-term tenant in there for the remainder of the lease. And if you like, at the end of the lease, you can collect your deposit and walk away. Or if you agree with the landlord to create a win-win relationship, you can continue to manage the property, charge more than what you started to rent it for, and that becomes your cash flow. So of course, in the end, right, we're still renting the property, we're still managing it, we're still making $500 a month over 2 years later from that situation. But it was a great learning experience. It actually gave me confidence because now I know that the worst thing that could happen is that, and I don't see that as a bad situation at all. If you have found value so far in this video by learning my pivot strategies, make sure you guys smash the like button to help the YouTube algorithm put this video in front of more people. Thank you guys so much. I truly appreciate it. Now let's talk about how to prevent this from happening, because even though we're making $500 a month, I would rather make $2 to $3K a month by actually running my Airbnb business. And so the only way to prevent this is to only operate short-term rentals where there is regulation in place, meaning that you need a permit in order to operate the Airbnb. Here's the thing, guys, whenever there is regulation in place and they make modifications to the ordinance, they are typically very subtle. The times where there is a drastic change is where there is no regulation, and then they implement a regulation that creates limitations in your business. So in order to avoid this situation for yourself, simply go into cities where you need a permit in order to operate. And you can find out what the regulation is by calling the building department in that city. If you're ready to learn how to build a 10K a month automated Airbnb business without owning real estate in 90 days or less, there is a link down below in the description where you can schedule a free 15-minute consultation with my team to see if we can help you build your Airbnb empire, just like we've helped over 3,000 students create time, location, and financial freedom. Go ahead and click the link down below and schedule your free 15-minute consultation today. With that being said, guys, make sure you guys check out one of my other videos here, and I'll see you guys on the next video.